Value is perceived in three ways by clients. You need product, you need consumption, and you need context. If you don't have those three, you're going to be in the same place as you were before. You're in love with your product, but no one else is.
And what I was asking this owner, I was like, okay, well, you guys are thinking about doing this. What is the data telling you? And he was like, I don't really know.
That sounds amazing in theory, but we also need to understand when you productize something, you also lose price elasticity.
Welcome to the Ethical Scaling Podcast, your guide to navigating online business with integrity. Join Jay and Ben on this epic journey. Whether you're a seasoned pro or new to the game, get ready for insights, strategies, and a dash of humor. So grab your favorite beverage, cozy up in your favorite spot, and get ready to deep dive into the art and science of ethical scaling. From client success to boosting lifetime value. Plus, learn how to turn clients into your best advocates. Ready to scale ethically? Let's dive in.
All right, welcome back to the Ethical Scaling Podcast. Today we are in Season 2, Episode 2, and we're going to be talking about whether or not you should productize your services. So, Jay, the brain, welcome back. Can you just start by telling us, okay, what the hell does productize your service even mean?
Well, it's a very common jargon used in multiple spaces, not just our space. I've seen this word being thrown around for a long time in different spaces. Basically, what it means is when someone is doing some kind of a service and they're like, can you package this service as a product? And I think timing and understanding psychology of the market is important. 10 years ago, going to use an example, what Sam Ovens did with his first course, high ticket course, Consulting Accelerator. Basically, he did some services and then he was able to package that service as a product that you could buy, could watch by yourself. You have some community support, and that worked. He was brilliant, and I think he has a beautiful brain, but we need to understand what he did 10 years ago. It's probably not going to happen now because we need to understand the market psychology. So when people reach out to us and they say, oh, I think I should productize my services, I mean, that sounds amazing in theory, but we also need to understand when you productize something, you also lose price elasticity. And what do I mean by that is that when people buy products, they have a different mindset compared to when they buy a service. So when you think about the word service, you expect to be served. When you buy a product, you think that you're going to use the product by yourself. So if you want to change your service to be more of a product, I'm cool with that. Just don't expect you can charge the same price point and get the same kind of results. So I think we need to go a couple of layers deeper, a little bit deeper in here to think about what improving the product means. So just talking a little bit about the product, I am a true believer that you should always make your product better. And when I say product, most of the services in our space, they typically have some kind of a product attached to the service. When I say product, they have a training portal, some kind of a curriculum, learning management software or platform that help clients consume some content apart from any one-on-one interactions they have with clients. Even for agencies, even for done-for-you services, a lot of done-for-you services also have content available more or less than done with you services where clients can go through it. So I truly believe that you should work on that. But if we think about the law of diminishing returns, there isn't a lot you can do to make the product exponentially better compared to other things you can do that can drive better results.
Yeah, I was actually having a conversation with an owner yesterday, right? And I think one of the challenges for owners is, let's call their offer their product, right? They look at their offer or product and they say, oh, you know what? Let's do more group calls or let's do more one-to-one. I feel like this is going to help us. And what I was asking this owner, I was like, okay, well, you guys are thinking about doing this. What is the data telling you? And he was like, I don't really know. And I think that's such a massive gap, right? For so many owners, it's like, well, we feel like this is going to help. And so they kind of throw something at the wall. And that's been the thing with client success departments, as long as I've been in the industry. It's like, oh, well, let's try this. Let's try this. So,
or just do more. Do more, like add more stuff. Like we think that adding more ingredients actually make the recipe better. If you look at the best recipes in the world, they don't have necessarily more ingredients.
Yeah. So for you, like when you're going in and doing a deep dive into a client success department, how do you help owners identify, the things that are one going to make the product better, but two, it's like uh what's a worthwhile experiment, right? Because we can't always say like, oh well, this is definitely going to improve the
Mhm.
product. We need a feedback loop there. So how do you approach that?
So, giving an example of a client I was on a call with yesterday with Adam, he was like, "Oh, I think I should be taking the next 2 or 3 months to just rebuild the curriculum based on some of the discussions we had so far." I was like, we have hundreds of reps doing this with clients. So we're going to bring you the most probable scenario that can happen if you implement those changes. But still, we don't have a crystal ball. We know what might work, but we need to go through experimentation and we need to make changes that can lead to great results, but we need to monitor them. So, as an example, there are two things I look at if I'm looking at an offer, if I'm looking at the business in order to help them maximize their lifetime value, minimizing their churn. It's understanding, who do you serve? Basic question that I've asked multiple times to multiple business owners: who do you serve? And they go on this crazy tangent. They're not able to tell me one single person they're serving. It's like, oh, I serve this and I serve that, or I serve owners making like $1 million a month. Like, how many of those do you have? Like one. How many of those do you have that are making like 10K a month? Like 100. So actually, who you serve is not who you think you serve, which can give them an idea. Like, do you want to change your offer, or do you want to reset your own expectations to make sure you're selling the right thing to the right person? Because there is no need for you to change your product or service, to productize it, if you don't have clarity on what's the biggest market share you can get with your existing offer. Because every offer will have a market share. Like for us, we do B2B client success for business owners that are doing ideally more than 7 figures a year. That's a smaller segment of the market compared to someone doing like 6 figures a year or half of that. So we need to understand, like, we have a smaller total addressable market, which is totally fine. We can live with that. We know we were ahead of the curve when we decided to have an offer around client success. But the main question to start with before you think about productizing: who do you serve? Who do you think you're going to serve over the next few years, and who do you enjoy serving? And there is enough of those clients available for you to serve them. And if you come to the point where you think, oh, who do I think I should be serving is one and who I'm serving is another, I may need to understand, do I want to pivot, or do I want to just reset my expectations and cater things to actually match who I'm serving at the moment? That would be like number one.
Yeah. And then, one of the trends we're seeing across pretty much every market, right, is that people want the personalization,
Mm-hmm.
right? And they want to have a relationship with the team that's delivering the experience that they invested in, right? So can you talk a little bit more about like, okay, what can personalization look like in a client journey?
I think the biggest misunderstanding what personalization means is for the owners and not for the clients. When a client says, I want this to be personalized, the way I read it, the way I look at it, I want this journey to be curated to my client. Because if you go back and use the specific word personalization, you think, I'm going to create a custom path journey for this single client. So every client that comes on board, you have to reinvent the wheel. Not only that requires more effort, more time, it becomes more unpredictable. Because if we're going to create something from scratch for every single client that comes through, you're not going to know what the results are going to be for that client. So you need enough reps, enough clients to go through the journey to know what works and what doesn't. But on the other hand, if you just have like one product, one journey that doesn't work well for that client, the client is going to feel like this is a cookie cutter program. It's the same thing for everyone. It's not the thing that I'm looking for. And I'm actually going to perceive less value because I'm going to increase my perception of effort doing things I don't think I should be doing. So sometimes the curation of the journey, which I think it's the trend for 2025 and 2026. So I'm all about having a hidden crystal ball. So bear with me when I say that, because I've said multiple things over the years that they were kind of right. I'm not 100% right 100% of the time, but I'm right a lot of times because I pay attention to what's being done. Just keep in mind, like, if you can curate the journey for your client, some of the times by having the ideal journey, and then when a client comes through, you can just do like slight removal of stuff in their journey that they don't need. That's going to accelerate your client's progress. That's going to get them closer to the result faster. And it's going to feel personalized. Like if you just remove one ingredient that they don't need to work through, because they already have it, because they worked on it before, because they hired another company before that had a similar offer. You can reuse those assets, which is going to help you deliver results faster, going to make your life easier, your team's life easier. So it's going to be better for everyone. So just understanding the difference between personalization and curation. Curation assumes that you have something in place that you can play with and can apply to your clients. I love giving people examples. So I can give an example from an offer that I had a long time ago. I had a health and fitness offer, work with that for a long time. At the beginning, personalization. Every client that came through the offer, we built everything from scratch. We would calculate calories, macros, organize their days, all that stuff. After we got, I think we did it too late, so don't do the same. I think we had 100 clients going through that process. I was like, man, I have enough data points to know exactly what the trends are. So what we did to accelerate that curation process, we've created a matrix with like male, body weight, number of workouts per week. And each point in that array was a pre-built template and a pre-built pathway for that client. It took me a weekend to create all those pathways because I had like, I think it was 3, 4, 5, and 4 different ranges of body weight. So there were 12 pathways for a male, 12 pathways for a female. It took me a weekend to build. But after that, we onboarded probably 500 clients over the next 12 months, which the process to onboard a client was, one, much faster for us internally. Secondly, the client perceived the same value because they were getting the same thing they were doing before. We missed the mark less times because, again, we have a template to start with. So basically, when the client filled out the onboarding form, we knew how many times they want to work out per week, what are the calories they need based on their body weight and things like that. So we knew exactly what's the best baseline roadmap for each client. And for every single client we work with, then we would make tweaks because this expectation you need to create that perfect plan never worked out. We always had to make tweaks. So basically having that core foundation doesn't remove any basically perceived value because we're still giving all of our knowledge. And I think the biggest value we can provide as a service is actually the feedback loops and the ability to tweak as we go.
And, people might be hearing like, oh, wow, you created 12 pathways for clients. Like that's overwhelming.
You don't need to.
No, for most clients, it's 2 to 3, right? That we do in terms of implementation pathways.
And here the pathways were like very minimal differences in what I'm saying. Cause we're talking about like someone that is like 200 pounds versus someone who's 175. It was the same template with like less carbs or a little bit less fat or a little bit more fat from one than the other. So the tweaks in our pathways are very, very minimal. So in reality, we have like 2 or 3 pathways, and then we have small variations of those pathways.
Well, and in a lot of offers that we work with, creating the pathway actually makes the resell or the upsell even easier, right? Because it's like, okay, you've completed pathway 1. Guess what's next? Pathway 2. Here's what it is. Do you want to do that? It creates this continuous journey that I think a lot of owners also struggle with.
And you've used this analogy multiple times. Think about martial arts. That's what they do when they show you all the belts. They give you that progression. They give you the end goal, which is the black belt. So you know exactly what you're going. Well, I think you're going to try to accomplish that over time when you're learning that martial art. And it's kind of the same thing here, like understanding what the clients are trying to accomplish, what mastery looks like for them regarding what they're doing and working on with you. It's going to be critical. So I think the biggest mistake when I hear the word productizing your service is that there is a big difference between productizing and streamlining. What I described just now, that's how you streamline your operations regarding fulfilling your client wants and needs behind the offer that was sold to them. Yes, you should focus on streamlining because I'm a true believer that Wright's law, it's going to be applicable in all businesses in order for us to scale. Wright's law just says that any product or service over time should be cheaper to fulfill than what it was at the beginning. So basically, streamlining will lead to efficiency. Efficiency leads to scaling. That's the biggest takeaway. Like, you should focus on streamlining. What we just talked about, it's an example of how you could streamline. But there are 2 other things that stack product perceived value that is not around the product. So people tend to get stuck in the idea that, oh, I just need a great product and I'm going to be fine. Well, value is perceived in 3 ways by clients. You need product, you need consumption, and you need context. If you don't have those 3, you're going to be in the same place as you were before. You're in love with your product, but no one else is. And if no one else is in love with your product, we're going to be like dealing with clients that you feel they're ungrateful. you feel underappreciated. So if you woke up today and you felt underappreciated because your clients are not showing you all the love they should show for the product you have created, it means that the other two things are missing. Giving you, again, you guys know I love analogies and examples and stories. If you go to a restaurant and they have the best food in the world, so they have a great product, but for some reason you don't consume the food, or the context, the surroundings are awful, the restaurant stinks, do you think the product is going to be perceived as valuable as it could if you had a great red carpet experience and you had an opportunity to taste all the food available for those 9 dishes that was served to you that night? That's going to be very critical. So your product could be awesome, but I would highly recommend, if you're looking at streamlining whatever you have in place, am I monitoring my client consumption or what's available for them? And what's my client success team, what are they doing to create the right context so that my clients can thrive and win? This is why we have coaches, account managers, client success managers. Their main function is to create the right context, because any behavior is context dependent. So if you want a client to do A, you need to create the right context or help them create the right context to do A. And then number two, the CSM or the account manager or whoever is helping you with delivery, they got to make sure that the client consumes what has to be consumed. When I say consumption, could be watching trainings or just doing stuff that they have to do. Like, I mean, I can give you the best workout in the world. If you don't go to the gym, who cares about the workout? And you're an expert. You're like, my clients will get results. What's going on? Yeah, because your workout is so perfect. You're so in love with your product that you didn't remember that their client actually was not ready to go through that process. They cannot work out 5 times a week. They don't know how to do a barbell squat. So basically what you gave them was amazing, but it was out of sequence.
Yeah, awesome. All right. Let's jump now to TTV, TTR, some of those things.
Cool. So I want to give you guys something tangible that you can work on. There are two metrics that I highly recommend everyone to monitor when we think about client success. Because client success, as you guys know, I've said this multiple times, Ben as well, it's the path to scaling. There is no way you can scale your business without client success being fully dialed in. So client success might not be critical for you to validate an idea, but you need client success in order for you to scale an idea to the next level, or your clients and your bad reputation will chase you forever and you're going to be in trouble. No one wants to be in trouble. TTV, it's how long does it take for a client to get value from your offer. Every offer is different. For some offers, that could be tangible value, could be a sale. If you're teaching them how to sell something, they get a sale. Maybe they don't ROI, but they get a sale and they're happy. They see something is happening. But for other offers that they might not be as easy to deliver a tangible result in the first few weeks or months, you can still give them an emotional breakthrough. So a great example of TTV for a lot of offers I've seen over the years is when clients go from possible to probable, that mindset shift is massive. So if you're able to get that epiphany to happen in the first few weeks, those clients are going to be much in alignment with what you have to offer and what you're asking them to do. So I would highly recommend to measure TTV. If you have ever mapped out your client journey, make sure you identify the milestone where typically those clients see the TTV, and you need to monitor how long does it take on average for our clients to hit that specific milestone. So as an example, Super Bias here, we've spent the last 18 months building our own client success software. And our client software, why we focus so much on tracking milestones in the software is so that we can know TTV, which is how long does it take for a client to see value, and then TTR. TTR is time to result. Result is very vague because every client should have a different idea what the result should look like. But for you internally, just think about the result being the expectation you just set for your client during your marketing and sales process, or if you have a great onboarding process that you have set during your onboarding process. If you monitor those two numbers, those two KPIs will give you an idea what you need to work on to make them even better. And of course, there is going to be a physical limit on how fast they can accomplish those things. But if you see that TTV is 3 months and your offer is 3 months, TTR is not going to be 3 months. So you sold them on a 3-month package, and you know no one is going to hit that milestone, that TTR in 3 months. You know you have to work on it. It needs to be a longer offer, or you need to change your promise, and we need to make tweaks again on the journey, on streamlining the journey, or setting the right expectations so that they can hit those specific KPIs in a very much tangible and acceptable timeline.
Yeah, and I think that's a massive lever too, right? When we talk about TTR, obviously TTV is really important, But this is another place where the data plays such a huge role, because when we track, right, we can see how many clients actually get the result that we're promising
Mhm.
in the time that we promised it. Where are the big friction points that are keeping X number of clients or X percentage of clients from getting that, right? And when you have that information, then you can make informed decisions around, do we lengthen the offer? Do we change the promise? All of those things, instead of like, well, it feels like we should make it longer, right?
It's funny when people ask me, like multiple clients have asked this during the past basically 4 years. Hey Jay, should I change my offer to be 6 months? Should I do a year long? Like, I don't know. Show me the journey that we've worked on. Show me the numbers so we can see how long does it take on average for a client to accomplish whatever they want to accomplish, and then I can make a decision. You starting an offer, or if you have been doing an offer for a while and you decided to do 90 days or 4 months or 6 months, I'm cool with it. You need something to start with. But after you get enough clients to go through it, you need to make sure that's being tracked so that you can make the necessary changes on the offer to actually match a realistic timeline. And I think not well, we haven't seen many people in our space doing that. So if there is a big takeaway, we would highly recommend you doing that right away because it's going to help you massively. And while you do that, I would say the next step is like, as you're monitoring all of these, make sure you implement checkpoints that are not just about progress. They're more like feedback loops that can monitor consumption. Basically, if there is a way that we can monitor client progress and see if they're consuming enough content or doing the right things, that's going to be important. Clients, or just relying on clients to show up for group calls, just relying on clients to do the work, relying on clients to self track stuff and basically self diagnose and self prescribe, that requires a lot of work. And this is why they hire in the first place. They don't want to be going through the liability of trusting themselves, basically.
Yeah. All right. Let's do the dreaded open loop, right?
Yeah, yeah. QC is another one, and we that's a whole episode by itself. So we can save like the nitty gritty. But if there is one thing I would recommend, if you go through all these changes we just recommended today, is to start thinking what's your quality control process. So if you have a team delivering, if you're going to make changes on the product, if you're going to start monitoring a little bit more of the context and consumption, you're going to keep an eye on TTV and TTR, so time to value, time to result. We need a system in place to the quality control that help you understand three things. Number one, what are my numbers? That's the first part of quality control. I need to know my numbers every week or every month or every 3 months. I need to be able to open spreadsheet, our software, whatever you're using, but something that can tell you what are my critical numbers. What's my client retention? What's my client churn? How many referrals am I getting? How many testimonials, reviews, and all of that, so that you can look at that and think, is this aligned with the benchmarks I have envisioned for my company? If it's not, what can I do to accomplish those KPIs? So that would be number one. Number two would be basically system compliance. I think this is very, very neglected in our space. Well, QC is neglected a little bit in our space, but system compliance is basically if you spend all this time and energy, or you're deciding if you should work with us or not. Even if we do all the perfect work in the world with you, we still need someone to actually monitor if your team it's compliant with the systems and processes you have built with us. So building it yourself, building it with us, it doesn't matter. We need some kind of a system or someone in the team that can oversee system compliance. Are they updating all the clients on time? Are they updating the client progress? Are they checking in with the clients? Are they leaving new notes? Are they sending you end of day or end of week reports? Are you meeting with your coaches or CSMs or AMs every single month? Is that happening? So we need a compliance score. And then third, which is harder to measure, it's quality control on how your team is providing the right context for your clients, the coaching side of things. Like any offer, it doesn't matter if it's done for you or done with you, there is an element of coaching. So teams need to be really good at understanding things beyond the technical level. So there are things that your clients need to understand that are very much skill set. But change is hard not because of the logical friction. Change is hard because of the emotional friction. And the only way for you to coach your clients to go through that emotional friction is your availability to help your clients change context, to change behavior. So there are two things you can do. Number one is just listening to calls. I've listened more than 3,000 calls over the years. So I've done plenty of reps manually. Google Doc, taking notes, giving feedback to whoever took the call. And then in our software, we have something called Call AI that you can just upload a call, and the software is going to do what I would do based on the prompts and the AI I've built based on my experience over the years, highlighting things that happened on that call. And it will give you a sentiment, as an example, green, yellow, red. And it doesn't replace a human. So I still recommend people that use our software, when they see a red call, go and listen to the call, because AI is not perfect. Like, our rate on sentiment on calls is super, super good at the moment, like kind of shocking how good it is, but it still requires you to go and check those calls. And at the end of the day, what you want to do is, when you meet your client success team at the end of the month, one-on-one, ideally, you go through the numbers. Hey, Jay, this was your system compliance this month. You did everything well, everything on time, all clients were updated. Let's look at your KPIs. Looks like you did amazing this month. Most of your clients are green, but you actually lacked a little bit on the retention side of things. You missed some upsell or renewal opportunities. So let's discuss that. And then, based on the calls I've listened, you had 20 calls this month. 18 of them were either neutral or good, but 2 of them weren't ideal. Can we spend a little bit of time so I can help you deal with this specific type of clients or this specific type of challenges? Because you might be lacking the coaching skill or a technical skill that could have helped you overcome that.
Nice. All right. Well, that's all for episode 2. Next time, we're going to talk more about QC and all things client success. So thanks for joining us, guys. We'll see you next time.
Bye-bye.
Thanks for tuning in to the Ethical Scaling Podcast. Don't forget to subscribe for more insights and laughter. If you enjoyed today's show, spread the love, leave us a review, and share this podcast with fellow business enthusiasts. And let's create a ripple effect of ethical growth together. Until next time, keep scaling ethically, dreaming big, and finding joy in the journey. Now, Jay and Ben are signing off. Cheers.